Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Norazmi bin Fadilah. I am from Jabatan Kejuruteraan Awam, Politeknik Sultan Azlan Shah. Together with my team members Mazura, Sharifah, Nur Hidayah, Zeti, Nur Huda and Nik Fatma will present our research paper for 5th Kuala Lumpur International Conference on Education, Economics and Technology 2023. The title for our research paper are Factors Influencing Learners' Engagement in the Classroom. For the outline of this research paper, we will start with introduction, then problem statement, objective, scope of the study, literature review, methodology, backgrounds of respondent, result and discussion, conclusion, and finally, references. Okay, for the introduction, higher education is experiencing a paradigm shift from passive learning to active learning. So as the COVID-19 pandemic has further presented an opportunity for education provide to enhance teaching that include non-campus modes. However, concerns regarding student engagement lie at the heart of the transition to active learning environments in the context of the increased demand for online education. Okay, based on Good Environment 2019, learners' engagement in the classroom remain as important element of their success. Okay, based on Reef, in theory, cited by Wilboom's article that engagement refers to the extent of students' active involvement in a learning activity, the willingness of level in terms of time and energy of student participation and involvement in normal student academic, community and social activities within their situation. The concept of engagement was shared and defined by a few scholars in several areas. For instance, Finn and Zimmer 2012 have categorized engagement into 4 areas, namely academic engagement, social engagement, cognitive engagement, and affective engagement. In another article written by Reef, he agreed with the behavioral and emotional are as highlighted above, but added cognitive and agentic engagement into this definition. And according to Zim, Finn 2012, the detailed example of various types are as follows. First, the academic engagement, behaviors related directly to the learning process, for example, their ability to complete the task assigned in the class or home. Second, social engagement behaviors related to whether student can follow written and unwritten classroom rules of behavior, for example, be punctual and have a good communication skills with teachers and peers. Third, cognitive engagement behaviors related to the internal investment of cognitive energy, roughly speaking, the thought process needed to attain more than minimal understanding of the course content. Fourth, affective engagement, a level of emotional response which categorized by feelings of involvement in school as a place and a set of activities with pursuing. Meanwhile, emotional engagement refers to the presence of tasks facilitating emotion, such as interest, and the absence of tasks withdrawing emotion, such as distress. Her usage sophisticated rather than superficial learning strategies, and the extent to which she tries to enrich the learning experience rather than passively receive as it's given. For problem statements, despite many studies that have been made by previous scholars on this issue, the discussion on learners' engagement in online learning remains limited based on Werang and Leha 2022, and only a few studies has been dedicated to exploring the factors influencing the engagement of higher education students based on Barua, Zhao, Gururajan and Chan 2018. For the objective of the study, to explore various influential factors related to learners' engagement in high classroom. For the scope of study, first, undergraduate students from quantity surveying QS backgrounds. Second, the study site are at Kuliah of Architecture and Environmental Design (KAID) and International Islamic University Malaysia. Okay, for the literature reviews, learners factors, these include 1. Behavioral aspect. 2nd, networking, interaction, relationship with peers. 3rd, learning styles. 4th, health issues. 5th, emotional aspect. 6th, cognitive aspect. And this is based on Nepal, Rogerson, Werang, Grove and Zhao. And then the lecturer factors, which include: first, networking, interaction, relationship with lecturers. 2nd, teaching style. 3rd, lecturer's competency. 4th, teaching materials. And for the educational international institution, which consists of: first, the facility provided. 2nd, the setting of the classroom. 3rd, continuous support. 4th, curriculum syllabus. And other related factors that might include are based on family support, such as financial or relationship. And secondly, living area condition, such as the distance of the living area and the heavy area of the condition itself. Other than that, in the literature review, the implication of mixing learners' engagement in the classroom or lecture are quite apparent. According to Kahu and Nelson, highlighted that the success of learners in studies will largely depend on their great engagement. According to Reef, further believe that their engagement in class reflect the lecture's ability to motivate learners in classroom positively. And based on Kareniko and Klein, believe that it can be a benchmark for learners' personal and learning development, as they will learn more with frequent practice or study. And according to Finn and Zimmer, added that learners also are academically and socially engaged in class with their peers, are likely able to perform well in academic performance. For instance, paying attention, completing homework and coming to class prepared and participating in academic curricular activities. Without it, they might experience various problems, such as: in 1, academic with low achievement. 2nd, behavior with low motivation and frustration. Okay, this is agreed by Nepal and Rogerson 2020, who mentioned that greater student engagement translates into value, experience and higher academic performance. For the methodology, there are many sampling methods available in research sampling. Within this context, the most appropriate to determine the sample size is simple random sampling. This is consistent with McCombs, who stated that there is an equal chance for every individual to be selected in simple random sampling. Okay, the sampling: first, the population size refers to undergraduate students from quantity surveying background within International Islamic University Malaysia campus. The undergraduate students are comprised of third-year students. And second, the data analysis is a process of evaluating data by using analytical tools. The data is collected using Google Forms to gather information related to learners' engagement factors using descriptive statistic and frequency analysis. Okay, the data will be transformed into tables and diagrams and charts. For the backgrounds of respondents, first, the questionnaire is sent to 100 students from International Islamic University Malaysia (IIUM) via email and WhatsApp. Second, out of 100, about 55 responses are obtained after the 2 weeks deadline given. The response rate for study is 55%, which is considered acceptable and valid. In this section, the questions are designed to gather some basic information from the respondent, such as age, gender, years of study, and point of entry, as well as subject learned. Okay, for the background of respondent, profile of the respondents shows the gender frequency for students who study at IIUM. Out of 55 respondents, the majority of the respondents are female, with 30 response, 54.5%, whereas the minority is come from the male group with 45.5%. As for the age range, the frequency table shows the age group can be categorized into young adults 21 to 22 years and adults 23 and above. The age majority is between 21 to 22 at 92.7% and 23 and above at 7.3%. For the years of study, there are 4 groups of respondents. respond to the questionnaire. The highest percentage is Year 1 with 19 response, 34.5%. This is followed by Year 3 with 17 responses, 30.9%. Year 2 with 16 responses, 29.1%, and Year 4 with 3 responses, 5.5%. Meanwhile, for the point of entry, the majority of the respondents are SPM leavers with 54 responses, 98.2%, and 1 response, 1.8%. Within subject learn context, most of the respondents share their opinions on technical aspects they have learned with 47 responses, 85.5%, and 8 responses, 14.5%. Okay, for the result and discussion, factors influencing learners' engagement in lectures or classes. This paper examines the factors influencing learners' engagement in the classroom using factor analysis. Okay, based on the analysis, the highest and the lowest factors is determined. Using table 2.1, also about 4 factors are identified and the agent values exceed 1. The main reason for using factor analysis is to identify the main factor that might influence learners' engagement in classes or lectures. The interpreted data result extracted 6 factors and show eigenvalues exceeding 1, and these factors are deemed to make up 81.993% of the total variance across 16 variables. According to IBM, the Kaiser-Meyer-Olkin KMEO test will measure the sampling adequacy and is also used to identify the proportion of variance of various variables in this paper. The value is 0.847, higher than 0.5, a higher value close to 1.0. It means that the response given with the sample are adequate. Besides that, based on table 2.0 shows the value of ballot test of separability is 0, not more than 0.05 of the significance level. It also implies that this analysis is valuable with the data. Besides, the table 2.0 shows the value of ballot test of separability is 0, not more than 0.05 of the significance level. It is also implies that this analysis is valuable with the data. Result and discussion based on table 2.1, factors influencing learners' engagement in lectures or classes. The factor analysis identify the 4 factors: learners factors, lecturers factors, educational or institutional factors, and other factors. The first factors was highlighted as learner factors. All factors were listed as behavioral aspects such as motivation, commitment, attitude, networking, interaction, relationship with peers, learning styles, health issue, emotional aspect, cognitive aspect such as mindset, belief, awareness, vision, intellectual level of confidence. The variance of the first factor was 72.733%. The next factor was lecturers factors, which include networking or interaction or relationship with lecturers, teaching styles, lecturers' competency, experience, technical IT skills, and teaching materials. The variance explained by this factor was 74.348%. The third factor relates to educational or institutional factors. These include facilities, the setting of the classroom, continuous support, and curriculums or syllabus design. The variance for this factor was 72.166%. The fourth factor was related to other factors such as family factors. The variance for this factor was 81.993%, which based on table 2.1, it can be summarized that there are 3 main important factors which include learners, lectures, and educational or institution factors. For table 3.0, relationship between factors related to learners' engagement in the classroom and their profile background. which based on Pearson correlation coefficient matrix between learners' engagement in class and their profile background. Using Pearson correlation coefficient, this section examines the relationship between learners' engagement in class and their profile background. In table 3.0, Pearson varies between perfect positive correlation and perfect negative correlation. It determines that there is a relationship between the two elements. In general, student factors tend to correspond with age, gender, years of study, point of entry, and subject learned positively. As can be seen in table 4.0, the behavioral aspect was having strong correlation with age and gender and was considered weak with years of study, point of entry, and subject learned. This is followed by networking, interaction, relationship with peers, which has been moderately correlated with age, gender, and years of the study. However, the relationship between the point of entry and the subject learned is getting weak with 0.366 and 0.121. Learning style, health issue, emotional aspect, and cognitive aspect are the factors that show a strong correlation with age, gender, and years of study, having a range between 0.514 to 0.978. Meanwhile, the relationship between learning style, health issue, emotional aspect, and cognitive aspect with the point of entry and subject learned were considered weak. And according to Nagayan, Kanata, and Miller also pointed out the importance of student interaction with peers in their study. The lecture factor also has shown a positive correlation with gender. This is include networking with lecturers. Meanwhile, a similar factor indicates a weak relationship between age, years of study, points of entry, and subject learned with a range between 0.81 to 0.364. Another lecture factor, namely teaching style, authoritative, also show a positive correlation with gender. Meanwhile, a similar factor indicates a weak relationship with age, years of study, points of entry, and subject learned with range between 0.007 to 0.369. The lecture competency, such as knowledge base, experience, technical, IT skill, etc., show a positive correlation with age at the value of 0.535. Meanwhile, a similar factor indicates a weak relationship between gender, years of study, points of entry, and subjects learned, with a range between 0.002 to 0.72. As for the fourth factor, teaching materials such as relevancy, easy to understand, appropriate, and sufficient show a positive correlation with the gender with 0.52. Whereas the remaining variables such as age, years of study, points of entry, and subject learned have a weak relationship with teaching materials, ranging between 0.109 to 0.419. For instance, Martin and Bolliger highlighted two important factors, namely learners and lecturers support and active feedback that might influence effective engagement between both students and lecturers. It can be done by sending regular announcement of email reminders to the students and providing grading rubrics for all assignments. Meanwhile, educational or international factors tend to correspond with students' age, gender, years of study, points of entry, and subject learned positively. It can be seen that factors such as facility provided was statistically significant with years of study and subject learned. This is consistent with the setting of the classroom arrangement, which show a strong correlation with the subject learned. Similarly, for the continuous support, such as loan, guideline, appreciation for the best student, a strong correlation was identified between years of study and subject learned. Lastly, the curriculum or syllabus design, such as learning goals, outcome, objective assessment, show a positive correlation between gender and subject learned. Meanwhile, the remaining variables show a weak relationship with factors as shown in table 4.0. The notion was also agreed upon by Gannett and Kuzu, McBrien and Jones and Chen and Jedra, Williams and Wright, who stated that the educational or institution factors remain important to facilitate learners' engagement in class through the utilization of software in the virtual classroom. He, Zin, Di, and Dong further added the use of online systems set out by Hayes can increase learners' engagement in classroom for better engagement too. They added the lecturer can collaborate and discuss effectively using online communication tools. Lastly is the family support, which was positively correlated with year of study. Similarly, living area and condition that has a positive correlation with gender and points of entry. However, this did not apply to other variables such as age, gender, points of entry and subject learn, as it was negatively correlated with family support. This is followed by age, years of study and subject learn, which have a weak correlation with living area and condition. In summary, some of the variables show positive correlation and some variables might due to the various perspectives shared by different learners' profile. All variables remain important in influencing learners' learning in class. As for conclusion, based on this research finding, it showed that learners' characteristics such as gender, age, years of study, point of entry and subject learned have been used to determine the factors that might influence learners' learning in class. These include learners' factors, lecture factors, educational or institutional factors, and other related factors. By using the factor analysis table and based on the learner's characteristic, it's found that our 4 main factors, only 3 main factors can be considered significant to assist learners in learning, namely learner, lecturers, and educational or institution factors. Thus, this research proved that to boost their performance in learning, learners need to be active and alert with their behavioral aspect, networking, interaction, relationship with peers, learning styles, health issue, emotional aspect, and cognitive aspect. The involvement lecturers to assist them to focus on learning also remain important. These include networking or interaction or relationship with lecturers, teaching style, lecturers' competency, and teaching materials. Lastly, learners' learning also can be effectively learned if the following factors were considered, namely facilitators provided, the setting of the classroom, continuous support, and curriculum or syllabus design. As suggested, the respondent believe that there are many approaches to make effective engagement in classroom. One of them is lecturers, whereby they need to improve their personalities to ensure learners can approach them amicably. Besides that, the duration of lecture also needs to be revised, as previously it was quite long, which caused them to lose focus in learning. The engagement among learners can also be improved through the formation of group assignments. Finally, this is our references, and that's all from our group research study for the topic of factors influencing learners' engagement in the classroom. And I would like to say thank you very much, and hopefully we will give benefit to all of you.